and people are asking you, how do I prepare for that? Just dive in is what I tell people, because it's the Wild West. It's a brand new
Yep.
domain, and you're pretty much starting kind of at the base level with a lot of people anyways. And it reminds, when I first got into machine learning, I was a bit intimidated by it until I realized after I started studying it that all my experience in my career, everything in my career kind of funneled me towards machine learning. I knew what a convolution network was. I didn't have to go learn that. That's something that's a big thing in machine learning. And I'm finding that similar things in quantum. Yeah, I may not have all the math down yet, but I have all the basis for the math. So what I don't know, I know where to go and learn and stuff. So if there's an intimidation factor, just ignore it.
And
Just dive in.
could you talk a little bit, Ron, about how QML builds on machine learning?
Most of the stuff that I've studied with QML has to do with it accelerating training cycles, so that on large data sets, the hope is that you can reduce the number of epochs in the training cycle. Some of these algorithms have to do with optimization. Some have to do with subgroup finding. Some of the algorithms drastically improve the back propagation in the training cycle. So that's how they reduce the epochs, because using quantum techniques, they can get the back propagation to converge much faster than just the random, let's just bang on it until it gets close and it feels close. So there's a number of algorithms. There's not, quantum itself doesn't specifically do machine learning, but you can inject it at several spots where it can drastically improve the performance. But again, quantum is like, just jump into it.
Agreed.
It's a new field. So that was my comment. And then my question for you, Michelle, was and I know that we don't usually get too technical in here, but I was just wondering if you could, in a simple statement, kind of tell me, where does the Riverlane stuff exist in the current quantum computing development cycle? It's referred to as like you actually call it an operating system, or you're trying to provide an operating system. And I'm a big Linux guy, and I've actually been in the kernel, but I never think about the operating system. It's just there. All my good stuff runs on top of it, but I don't really worry about the operating system. It's just solid.
Well, that's the thing. So and this is where I've had conversations with people who are also in quantum software companies, and a lot of times they're just like, no, we don't talk about the hardware. We don't need to talk about the hardware. We're just focused on the software. I'm like, you can't just, if you're in quantum computing, you cannot not think or try to understand the quantum, like the hardware portion, because there is a lot of physics that exists to it, and there's a reason why you can't just run software as if it was classical to quantum, and it's because of the fact that the qubits are so like fragile. And so in the overall stack of how these quantum computers actually work, it's like what they like run all these like different commands, and then there's a bunch of lasers that usually happen inside that both heat up or even cool the atoms that are being used, or the elements that are being used to trap those atoms, or do whatever, even if it means for silicon or whatever else that they're using to get these qubits. But by the time they get to the qubit part, it's like you have all these like qubits, and it's like all like it doesn't exist unless it can be measured, right? And they have it like lit up or whatever. But what Riverlane does is we have like our system that's added to the hardware of what they have. And it essentially just helps in identifying the erroneous or the qubits that aren't as coherent or not coherent or lost coherent